can't do it without this, can I? Huckster here. So, how did every eye see him? From Revelations 1:7. People will say, I didn't see him. Did you see him? I don't know anybody that's seen him. So they use this as a response to bolster their position of he hasn't came because every eye didn't see him. Christ is unveiled in the apocalypse in his glory. He is manifested as the Ancient of Days, and that's a clear expression of his divine nature. He was crucified for his testimony that he would sit at the right hand of power, the Father, and come on the clouds of heaven. His testimony was regarded by Caiaphas, the high priest, as blasphemy. Matthew 26:64 says, Jesus saith to him, Thou hast said, nevertheless I say unto you, hereafter shall ye see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. That's Jesus telling Caiaphas. That text parallels with Revelation 1:7. Christ told the high priest that the latter, Caiaphas, would live to see his return upon the clouds. This means that he would have to return in the lifetime of Caiaphas. People say, well, how can, back then, how could every eye see Christ's return? They want to say that everybody on earth at one given time in our future will see Christ's return. If he returns in the clouds in Jerusalem, everybody on earth will see it because of satellites, TV. But there are many, many, many people on the earth that don't have that technology. They don't get up every day to the sound of a TV like we do. They don't have the news sent into their homes daily. There's many people on earth that wouldn't see him. Christ is talking about every eye would see him there in Jerusalem. Those tribes, the tribes would mourn. In Revelations 1:7, it says, Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. And all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. That verse is almost a quote from two Old Testament passages. The phrase coming in the clouds originates in Daniel chapter 7 verses 13 and 14, which reads, I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days. And they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion, and glory, and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. The tribes, the Jewish tribes of the southern kingdom, the house of David and Nathan, along with Leviticus priest. If we look in Zephaniah 12, verse 12 and forward, well, I say Zephaniah, but I meant to say Zechariah. Chapter 12, verse 12 and forward. And the land shall mourn, every family apart, the family of the house of David apart and their wives apart, the family of the house of Nathan apart and their wives apart, the family of the house of Levi apart and their wives apart, the family of Shemuel apart and their wives apart. All the families that remain, every family apart and their wives apart. In that day there shall be a foundation open to the house of David and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and for uncleanness. So, how did every eye see him? Every tribe among them would mourn and look upon him who they had pierced. The text is not speaking of everybody in the world's eyesight, physical eyesight. When Christ quoted the elements of Revelations 1:7 in the Olivet Discourse, which is Matthew 24:30, which says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. He forever settled the issue of what manner of time his coming in the clouds and the mourning of the tribes occurred. If you go on and read in Matthew 24:30 and forward, 31 says, and he shall send his angels with a great shout of the trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heaven to the other. Now learn a parable of the fig tree when his branches is yet tender, and put forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the door. Verily I say unto you that this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. All those things would happen before the generation living in his day passed away. So, you didn't see him, I didn't see him, but when he tells Caiaphas he would see him, and every eye would see him, even those that pierced him, and all the tribes would mourn. Fits right in with what the scriptures say in Daniel and Zechariah. What Jesus himself said on the Olivet Discourse. Revelations 1:7 equals Matthew 24:30. And if Revelations 1:7 is fulfilled before that generation passed that Jesus was speaking to, Revelations 1:7 has been fulfilled. Your response is welcome. Peace.